All right, guys, no camera because we got to get right into it, and I don't have a ton of time. So we're going to get through some stock market analysis, some technical analysis for the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Nvidia, AMD, and Meta going forward, looking at GME and AMC as well. And I just want to get right into it. Let's not waste any time today because time is limited. Okay, what are we in right now? A daily pullback. A daily pullback is what we are in right now, and we have to pay attention if we're going to see another move up. So what signals are going to form to show us that? Well, the 2 hour, and before we talk about things curling up or down, we got to point out the daily expected moves for tomorrow. Those daily expected moves, they thinned out a little bit here from today, and we have 548 flat to the upside for the SPY, and we have 542.68 to the downside for the SPY as well. So what we want to pay attention to here, look at this MACD, not able to go negative yet, starting to build up, looking a little bit flaggy in here, but maybe the spike down is enough to gain us some ground to the upside. So it's pretty much we have a double top. We're in a range, right? We're in a range here, and you can just see that pretty plainly. We're pretty much in a range at this point. So if we curl up, we could come outside of this range, go to the upside. If this 2 hour is able to curl up, we have to say positivity because right now it's just a 2 hour pullback and we're in positive territory still. So if that starts to roll down, okay, bad news, right? But for now, it is saying pullback. It still has not confirmed more upside. If that does happen, watch out for that daily expected moves. Maybe we sit up there, maybe we see something crazy happen, but 68% of the time you will land in this red zone every single day and the purple zones every single week. So the 30-minute is what I really want to pay attention to because that curled up at the end of the day, which is telling me, hey, I should be prepared for some kind of bounce going into tomorrow. Okay, so we're paying attention to what is happening tomorrow. What do we notice here? Well, we're just bouncing as of right now. We're still negative. So there is a good probability because we're close to that center line that we're going to see some positivity tomorrow. But let's watch out for that daily expected move. Pay attention to whether that 30-minute is able to hold in positive or just rolls right back down by the end of the day. Okay, we'll pay attention to that going forward. And that's really what there is to say about the SPY right now. You're in a range and you're just kind of playing the range as of right now. The Qs, you're still in that daily pullback as well. So for the Qs, let's just display that first of all. Look at this. You're in a daily pullback. That's all you're in right now. I think we need to maybe reach down for those buyers. But, you know, this market's been very strong for a long time with only a couple little moments like this one back here where we actually got a decent sized pullback. So what are we noticing here from the Qs? Well, we're in a pullback at this moment. And so we need to pay attention to the shorter time frames if we're going to pull back further. So let's go look at a 2 hour real quick. What do we notice about the 2 hour right away? Not negative, okay, not able to go into negative territory. Good shot it does right here, but it's not as of right now. We dipped to lower levels. We actually found in the Qs a little bit different than the SPY. Yeah, we have maybe a range going on here, but this right here might be a higher low, okay? This could be some kind of higher low. Now, what would confirm this as a higher low is a solid turning up of that 2 hour. If we can get past this daily expected move, maybe we even extend a little bit higher, go outside of that weekly expected move as well. I think this area right in here could be pretty important going into the next couple of days to signal what would happen by Friday. So we'll look into this going forward, looking at a 30-minute. What do we want to point out here? Well, it's starting to go positive here, okay? You're starting to go positive. So the SPY just ticked up. The Qs are positive on the 30-minute. So what should we take from that? Really thinking about it. Well, we need to talk about a daily expected move. 485.48 to the upside, 478.36 to the downside, and 68% of the time we'll close in this range. So if we do see that positivity, which is what we really have to talk about as that 30-minute goes positive, and we're taking back all the moving averages, everything about this is screaming swing trade, right? Curls up, flags out, curls up again at the end of the day. Now we see that upward pressure. We'll see what is going on with this. But to the upside, we really should think that only for tomorrow, 485.48 should be the upside. If we're going to get excited and do something like this again, I think we might get another wick out moment for a daily bar. I really do. And that's just me being honest about this one here. Right now, the 30-minute looks pretty positive. So we'll pay attention if that's able to curl up that 2 hour, or if we're going to get some kind of pop and then drop, because Jerome Powell talks tomorrow and we get data. I believe it's at 8. I think it's right at the open. So if we like open up here, we see a gap higher, we open up here, watch out below because we could get that to fade pretty early on. We'll pay attention to it. We go live every single morning, okay? So we'll be there for you. Apple, the reason that this one is a little bit off right now is because, well, we're at that weekly expected move. Okay, so if I go pull, I might actually pull up those weekly expected moves real quick on my other screen just so we can have those for a reference here. And Apple, okay, so as high as it's supposed to go, you're above it right now. You're above it right now. And the key thing to look at when you're looking at Apple here, I've traded this thing a ton. It really likes to react pretty accordingly to its weekly expected moves most of the time. Yes, it just had a crazy moment right here, but we never crossed over. This is what you want to look for outside of those weekly expected moves. Okay, you see the divergence here. You see it on your chart. You see it on the MACD and the RSI at the same time, which says, hey, Apple might experience some pullback here on a 2-hour chart. Okay, so the 2-hour chart looks like what's happened to it? Well, it rejected here, went back up. So it rejected and went back up. It's still positive. We have to talk positively about this right now. Right now, the most probable move is higher until that 30-minute crosses down. Then if that 30-minute crosses down, confirming that divergence right here, this 2-hour can start to pull back, and you just don't want that to go negative. If you start to go negative, that means you're most likely taking out this low, gonna go make a new one. So I would really like to see if there's gonna be positivity left in this. Well, we talked about the possibility of creating some kind of head and shoulders, right? We get one more little push up here. We create this right shoulder, left, head, right shoulder. That would be a great look for Apple to actually head higher. And that might even take you into next week. So it would work with the weekly expected moves. And as of right now, 30-minute divergence is telling us, hey, a 2-hour pullback could be coming if that 30-minute divergence is able to complete. Keep that in mind for Tesla. Now, this is one that I was going to mention because there is a signal up here that's stating there could be some kind of 30-minute pullback, the 2-hour kind of going nuts. And I believe some more news just came out for Tesla, and I think it might be good. So Tesla actually could see some positivity tomorrow, which is kind of crazy because you're already at that weekly expected move, which means you might be able to see something crazy happen. I just wanted to point that out right out of the gate. But the 2-hour really needs to pull back at some point here. If it's not going to, hey, that thing's just going ballistic. Daily is starting to take over, right? Daily momentum is starting to take over. That's starting to get overexcited to the upside as well, though, as you see that thing going a little bit overbought here. So we'll pay attention to it. But the main thing I wanted to show you was the 30-minute here, okay? The 30-minute, we're curling this over real quick just to show you guys how there's a triple divergence here on the RSI, not necessarily on the MACD at the same time, which leads me to believe that this is going to be some kind of pullback. So I'm not saying that positivity won't come soon. I'm saying that we most likely will see some kind of pullback like this, and then I'll be looking for structure like this if that completes this week. If it goes into next week, I'm not really going to be paying attention to it. I think Tesla actually could be pretty bullish. If that 30-minute is going to be more dramatic of a pullback, then I think we're going to see this 2-hour kind of rip down, okay? So we'll pay attention to this. We're in our sell zone. The only reason that I'm mentioning this is because, hey, it has a 5-minute divergence right here. That's something that I look out for, and that can curl over the 30-minute. We started to see weakness. So if the 30-minute experiences some weakness here, I'm looking for that to curl up one more time. I think it has one more curl up left in it. But if we're going to see something more dramatic like a 2-hour pullback, okay, that can pull down to lower levels. We'll pay attention to this going on into tomorrow. Tesla is going to be one that we are going to watch very closely on the live stream tomorrow morning. So if you're trading Tesla, come to the live stream because we'll be talking about it a lot. Amazon, what do we notice about this one? This really started to look like a lower high. This really started to look like a lower high. So you kind of saved it on this bar right here because that was about to cross over, and that would not be good news if that started to go negative. So you're still looking out for that. But as of right now, if it's able to hold up, I think we could head as high as something like 200 makes sense here because of that weekly expected move. And then you want to look out for the divergence. Okay, you're gonna have divergence here soon. And if that completes, I think we're going to see a pretty good pullback for the 2-hour. I think this 2-hour could complete a divergence as well. If we see this continue to go up, we actually could make a 2-hour divergence at the same time, but that is far away from the center line. So I believe this is overall just going to be a 2-hour pullback, unless we see something in the system kind of breaking at this point, because we're seeing, the Chewy stuff, the GME stuff, the AMC is starting to rip, so we're going to talk about that. But I'd really be looking out for, because this wasn't able to cross over today, maybe it has one more push higher left, or we're going to turn over, maybe go negative and confirm this as a lower high. So those are two things to really pay attention to for Amazon. What are we noticing here with Nvidia? That 30-minute was able to curl up, but we're right back in the range, okay? So pretty much you're in this range right here, right? You're in this range right here. We saw a breakdown. Okay, now we pop back up with a slightly higher low, able to curl up, and now we're trying to go positive. So overall, you would say positivity is the most likely scenario here, unless that 30-minute just rolls right back down. So really, we were paying attention to this hourly, and that was able to curl back up too. So this could confirm itself. It pretty much is confirming itself as a higher low, and Nvidia could see some positivity from that. So looking at the 2-hour, this was never able to curl back down. So that's a good good sign that we weren't going to make that divergence, okay? That never curled back down to make that divergence. But if that does tomorrow, then we'd still be looking out for that, looking at that weekly expected move down towards these areas. You can get those weekly expected moves down in the description. There's a link to the Patreon where we give out those weekly expected moves. And Nvidia is going to be one that you really, really want to pay attention to, because it really is just moving sideways. You know a big move is coming because they keep going back to this area where they're just building liquidity, and then they just shoot it lower for a second. Okay, build it back up, build liquidity. So we'll pay attention to what happens here. I think the big thing for Nvidia is it's been pulling back on the daily for a few days now, and this is a pretty good looking bar if you're looking at it on the daily scale, pushing back up. Okay, took back the 20. Now you're just below this 9 right here, and we could see that curl up, positive territory, positive move. Okay, looking at that from the daily scale, that's all I really have to say about Nvidia. AMD, this one here, kind of rejecting on the daily scale, not a good sign, but able to buy up at the end of the day. So a lot of people live paying attention to this saw that it was at the weekly expected move. Good job, congratulations, you're looking at the right stuff. I really like to see that. And what are we noticing here looking at a 2-hour chart? Well, if you pull up a 2-hour chart, you might say, hey, this could be some kind of low or higher low according to the closing bars on the 2-hour. You know, we came all the way down pretty much to this level here, but you're really close to center line. 2-hour curls up. Every time this curls up, we see some positivity. Okay, so right here, boom, curl up, positivity. All right, over here, curl up on this strong bar. Oh, very positive in one bar, and then it gave it back up. But 2-hour here, this could be a strong base. We're building a lot of liquidity in here, so we'll see if that's able to turn up and go positive. Okay, now the 30-minute is something to talk about here because it's about to cross over. So it's kind of like, are you going to go make a stronger base right now and just give us the double bottom or something like that right now by that weekly expected move? Or are we just going to curl up and go positive, start curling up that 2-hour? That's really what I'm wondering here from AMD. Kind of a hard one to trade. It's really just going from one range, couple dips out, couple dips up, and then we stay in that range, then we break the range, we go into a new one, and then we get a couple dips out, couple dips down. So it's just a difficult one to trade, but I'm sure that if you're playing the range correctly and playing the weekly expected moves, you should be just fine with this one. Meta curling up on the 30-minute. The reason I'm worried about this one just making some kind of lower high, I believe that it at least needs to make a stronger base here in order to head higher, because if it just heads a little bit higher, that could create that lower high, because you're very, very negative right now. You're pretty negative here on the 30-minute MACD. So this here is something to pay attention to. We could just see this curl up and curl right back down. If this curls up like this, and then you see that curl down, watch out, you're in negative territory. You could go like this, and then come down and make that base, and maybe the real trade was in the future a little bit here for Meta. So what I want to pay attention to, the 2-hour is curling down. You have divergence here too. That's why I'm being very hesitant with this one, getting a lot of upside. We have structure for us to make some kind of head and shoulders now, and if that starts to complete, we could see some bad things for Meta once it loses this kind of neckline we got going on down here. So I'd just be a little bit cautious with Meta going forward. You have divergence. It doesn't mean you can't like turn up, see another point of divergence made. But at this moment, it looks like on the 30-minute, a lower high looks pretty likely for Meta going forward. AMC, this was a very, very good day for AMC. I truly believe it was, but we still have to pay attention because we're not above that 555. We're not at a level where we're going to see something insane happen. You just have to get above 555. That's very, very important. So if we start to curl over right here on a 2-hour, it could mean bad news. As of right now, it is positive in positive territory. You have to talk positively about AMC, but that can change very quickly. That 2-hour turns over. You guys have been here long enough. You know that means that this is not the moment according to the momentum. Now, the good part is the 30-minute did curl down, and it ended at the low of the day on this last bar here. So that's something to pay attention to. It looks like we're going to get some downward push, but we'll see how this opens up in the morning. Right now, the 30-minute could use a pullback, but if you saw the moment, I've researched the moment plenty. It never curled back down on a 30-minute when the moment was happening. When the big short squeeze happened, you never curled back down on a 30-minute, which tells you something. If this 30-minute crosses over, you immediately know that is not going to be the moment. And you want to see if that's able to base out at any time for some kind of higher low to then head higher. This would be the next time where you would say, okay, this could be the moment. this right now might not be if we start to go lower early in the morning. I just wanted to be very clear about that. But as you're seeing upward pressure, I mean, on the daily scale, this looks great. It really does. It looks like a swing trader would do this if it was above the 200. A swing trader would get behind this for sure on the daily scale, because you're noticing that we closed above all the moving averages here. Awesome. A lot of swing traders would take this right away. And then this bar here looked really strong. Awesome. Maybe a swing trader would take it here. This bar here is even better because the entire bar is above all of your shorter moving averages. You only have the 200 left. That's what I'm saying here. It needs to push through that 200, gain that back, curl up on this MACD, and you'll see some good positivity. That daily momentum is not something to mess around with, and you would take you above 555. That is a key point there. So pay attention to this. AMC looking pretty good here, but just pay attention to the shorter time frames in the meantime, because it might take a week to play out. Now, GameStop, this one here, closing kind of down, but in a weird way, I would say, because you were able to buy back up off the 50. Notice you don't have much time left before GME is actually going into negative territory. You really want to flip that around soon. You do not want to mess around for a long time and keep this MACD going negative. You do not want this to just keep trailing off, because the selling can escalate down in this area. Once you cross that center line, the selling can really start to escalate, which makes total sense, right? If you lose the 50, it's like, oh, we might head to the 200. That would be all the way down at 1650. So just imagine if GME went all the way back down to 1650, people would really be screaming, hey, this was a pump and dump, when I believe that this is overall just the KC shuffle. I think that he's having, people are looking over at Chewy and they're so distracted by it that look at AMC starting to pop and GME starting to fall off just a little bit. No one's really thinking this is going to pop now. And it's like, what if this just curled up in the next couple of days? We'll see. But right now we need to look at the chart. All right, we need to look at the 2 hour. The 2 hour was able to curl back down on this first bar. Now we're curling up. We'll see, because we do have divergence here, right? And we want to see if that is on the RSI at the same time. So let's pull this up and we'll notice it's kind of flat, right? So you do have a little bit of a divergence between these points, that if that's able to curl back up, notice how close you are to positive territory. So by no means do I think that this is like completely over or anything like that. I just think it's going to be more complicated. So if the 2 hour is able to gain some steam here, maybe we actually do cross up right now, but it's not looking likely as of this moment. The 2 hour is pointing down. It is in negative territory. So technically we have to be negative on the stock, guys. Okay. You want to wait till those reversal patterns really prove themselves. Now, GME can head lower. We give you on Patreon those weekly expected moves. GME can head significantly lower here. So we have to pay attention to that. Maybe it's going to see some buying up, dip back down, go like this, get a little divergence. We don't know at this moment, because it's really, we can't talk too positively about it. All it's telling you on the 30-minute here is you're bouncing. It's not saying I'm going positive yet. It's not saying anything like that. All it's saying is I'm bouncing. The last time we got a pretty significant bounce, what did we have all the way across? We had a divergence right here that then gave us this little bar. This little bar right here said, okay, this looks like a good time for this to bounce and maybe even go positive. Look at that. We go positive and then we get a rejection divergence with the double top. We talked about this and that started to fall off. This right here is where we kept saying over and over. This was Friday in the morning. We said, if this curls over right here, you most likely have a double top. And look at that. You actually, it's not even a rejection. You actually get a green bar here. So that's just straight up divergence right here. And you see the triple divergence across the way. So this sell-off makes sense. And now you have to see if that's ever able to build back up and go positive. Then we can talk positively about it. By no means am I selling my GME shares or selling my AMC shares at this point. I'm just looking for points to add to the position right before that moment happens. So I'm looking at this right here and it's just telling me, hey, we're bouncing, but you got to get back to positive and you got to get above 2766 to see something crazy, to see some kind of squeeze. All right, that's very, very interesting there. Now, looking at volatility, this really has dropped off pretty dramatically, honestly, and the 2 hour looks like it's about to curl down, so we could see more positivity. Or what if on the hourly we're actually creating a double bottom and this looks like a clean divergence? I'm showing it on the hourly because if this turns up from this level, that 1212 level, very, very important, we could see some dramatic downside. We could see volatility increase, which doesn't necessarily mean downside right away. It means you can see big moves up and big moves down. So do not be surprised if the stock market is higher tomorrow and you see volatility higher as well. Just know this about volatility. It does work both ways. So if we're starting to hit a weekly expected expected move and volatility is high, the swing down might be big, okay? So we'll pay attention to that, looking at these individual stocks and looking at the overall SPY and the Qs. Now, as we look at the dollar, I just wanted to show it on the daily because yes, we did see it drop down throughout the night, which said some buying was possibly taking place, but you notice we were able to wick completely back up and we're right back above all the moving averages. So this is still positive. It's not turning over yet. It's starting to look like it's curling a little, so we'll pay attention to it. If this starts to curl over, we might see a big push in the stock market. I want you to be aware of that, right? I'm not going to just sit here and say everything that you want to hear all the time. I'm just saying, hey, this is positive. As of right now, the dollar is still moving higher while the market is moving higher, and that is why you need to pay attention, because we're starting to hit levels that are pretty crazy for the dollar. But if that wants to turn down, that could mean that big investors are starting to put their money back in the stock market, and you want to follow those signals, and those signals will prove themselves in the individual stocks. So the reason that I'm just a little bit weary about the dollar is because whenever this monthly turns up, we're probably going to see some bad stuff happen in the stock market, right? We're going to see that correlation where that actually takes over. Right now, the dollar has gone up since December, and the market has gone up since pretty much October. So what do we want to pay attention to? If this curls up, that could mean that we're actually going to see the dollar take over, and the correct correlation comes in where the dollar goes up and stocks actually come down. So pay attention to that going forward. But I believe the overall main takeaway for this video is to play the signals to a T. You're seeing a lot of stocks hitting some weekly expected moves already in the individual names. I think that's where the opportunity lies, in the individual names, because right now in the SPY and the Qs, you're overall just seeing 2 stocks hold it higher while 5 stocks drop, and then 4 stocks hold it higher while 3 stocks drop dramatically. Like, all of it seems like the moves are in the individual names. So we'll be live tomorrow morning to watch it with you guys so we can try to understand things a little bit better. So overall, just thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you're interested in learning this type of stuff about these indicators, a trading style, my own trading style that I use to make money in the stock market, you can get that link down in the description. That'll take you to the course. It is only $100 until July 7th. It's literally, this is probably the last sale of 2024 I'm doing. So thank you for watching the end of the video, and I hope that you dedicate yourself to some learning. And if you need those ranges, we got those for you over on Patreon, right below that link in the description. So thank you guys for watching. Always appreciate it. I wish you nothing but luck with the rest of your trading for the rest of the week. I'm holding, and that's all I got to say. So thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you next time. Peace.